March 20th, 2026, a date that changed everything. For the first time, Iran launched ballistic missiles at Diego Garcia, a joint US-UK military base, 4,000 kilometers from Iranian territory. One missile failed, the other was intercepted. But the message was crystal clear. Iran's 2,000 kilometers range limit is dead. Berlin, London, Rome all now within striking distance. Today, we go inside Iran's weapon stockpile, the missiles, the drones, the underground cities, and why, after weeks of relentless bombing, Iran is still firing back. Brace yourself. This is the arsenal that has the world on edge. Subscribe now. You don't want to miss what comes next. Before February 28, 2026, Iran possessed the largest ballistic missile stockpile. Estimates vary. The Israeli military put the number at 2,500 missiles. Other analysts say the true figure was closer to 6,000. Iran's missile arsenal was larger than the combined stockpiles of every other country. And that's just the missiles. Iran's drone fleet was even more staggering. Open source intelligence, 80,000 to 100,000 Shahed drones before the war. The terrifying part, production capacity was 400 drones per day. That's roughly 10,000 drones per month. In wartime, they could launch 2,500 drones daily for weeks. That is not a stockpile. That is an industrial-scale weapon factory. But the real story isn't just the numbers, it's where Iran hid all of this. And that's where things get truly terrifying. For years, Iran has been digging, not tunnels, underground cities. Iran has built at least 5 major underground missile cities. Some stretch for tens of kilometers. These are not simple bunkers. They are vast complexes, hundreds of meters below, designed to withstand direct hits from our strategic bombers. Inside, Iran stored thousands of missiles. Sajil Hajkasem, Keborshikan, also Gadrach, Emad, and Pavalongrange cruise missiles. And here's the genius of Iranian strategy. Even their launchers are designed to hide. Self-propelled launchers disguised as ordinary cargo trucks and tractors. Impossible to spot from satellites until it's too late. This is the backbone of Iran's deterrence. An arsenal hidden so deep, so dispersed, that even weeks of relentless bombing could not fully destroy it. As of March 2026, despite 12 days of intense airstrikes, Iran still retains capabilities. Now let's talk specifics. What exactly is in this arsenal, and what can it hit? At the short-range end, the Shahab 1 and Fatih 110 with a 300 kilometers range, capable of hitting US bases in the Gulf. Then you have the Zulfiqar and Yali, reaching 700 kilometers, easily covering all of Iraq, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia's eastern province. The Shahab 3, Iran's workhorse medium-range missile, reaches 1,300 kilometers, enough to hit Israel and parts of Egypt. Then come the long-range heavy hitters. The Emad, with 1,700 kilometers range, the Khorram Shah and Ghadar, reaching 2,000 kilometers. But the crown jewel is the Sag-Gilaran's most advanced solid-fuel missile. Range, 2,000 kilometers. Speed. Over Mach 14, solid fuel means it can launch in minutes, with no time for adversaries. And then there's the Sumera cruise missile with a 2,500 kilometers range. Unlike ballistic missiles, it flies low, hugging the terrain, making it nearly invisible. But here's what nobody expected. On March 20th, Iran fired missiles at Diego Garcia, 4,000 kilometers away. That means Iran now possesses intermediate-range missiles that can reach Berlin, London, Rome, Paris, all within range. The era of Iran being a regional power is over. Iran is now a continental threat, but missiles are only half the story. Iran's drone arsenal is arguably more dangerous because of one simple reason: cost. A Shahed 136 drone costs Iran about $35,000 to produce. To shoot it down, the US military must fire interceptors costing $500,000 to $4 million each. Standard military doctrine often requires 2 interceptors per target, so for every $35,000 drone, the defender spends $1 million to $8 million. During fighting in June 2025, the US fired 150 THAAD interceptors over 12 days. To defend Israel about a quarter of its stockpile, each costs $15 million and can take years to replace. As Kelly Gricko told Bloomberg, "We are using these interceptors faster than we can make them." Iran, meanwhile, can produce drones at a rate that allows them to launch 2,500 daily for weeks. At 400 drones per day production capacity, they can sustain this longer than any adversary. This is not a war of technology. This is a war of economics. And Iran has figured out how to bankrupt its enemies without firing a single expensive missile. You might be thinking, after weeks of non-stop bombing, surely Iran's arsenal is gone, right? Not according to US General Don Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. On March 19, 2026, Kane stated, "They came into this fight with a lot of weapons and still retain significant capabilities. While the pace of attacks has slowed, strikes continue." As recently as March 19th, missiles damaged energy facilities in Qatar and Kuwait. Here's why Iran is still fighting: its underground production facilities. While above-ground factories have been hit, the underground missile cities continue to produce. The US and Israel have adapted their strategy. Instead of trying to destroy bunkers, they target entrances and launches. As Decker Eveleth explained, Iran may have moved some launchers out of bunkers. So what's left? According to assessments, Iran still has 700 to 1,200 missiles capable of reaching Israel, and 1,700 to 2,400 missiles for US targets, and their drone production still running, still at scale. So what does all of this mean? First, Iran has graduated to a continental threat. The Diego Garcia strike proved that Tehran's 2,000 kilometers range limit was a lie. European capitals are now within reach. Iran's missiles can reach 26 countries, including every Gulf state, all of Israel, most of Turkey, Egypt, and parts of Russia. Second, Iran has weaponized economic asymmetry. By flooding the skies with cheap drones, they force adversaries to choose between bankruptcy or accepting hits. This is not a war Iran can win militarily. It's a war they can win economically. Third, and perhaps most important, the regime will survive. While Iran's nuclear and missile programs have been badly degraded, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps may emerge from this conflict stronger. As Latham writes, in Iran without a credible breakout option and with a weakened missile force would be operating under tighter limits. The regime would remain hostile. The US and Israel have inflicted massive damage, but Iran built this arsenal for this scenario. They have the underground cities, they have the production capacity, and they have the patience to rebuild. The war is not over, and as long as those underground missile cities remain, neither is Iran's ability to strike back. This is just the beginning. In our next video, we'll go inside Iran's nuclear program, what's left of it, and what it means for the future of the Middle East. What do you think? Can Iran sustain this fight for another 6 months? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe. You don't want to miss what comes next.